Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the members of the panel. You've been helpful. Let's drill down on that a little bit, though. Under the terms of the bill right now, H.R. 2187, a personal injury attorney with no other requirements would be able to self-certify as an accredited investor. Isn't that right, Mr. Quadrin?
I believe you're correct, and that's one of the reasons why we said there should be an SEC study to see exactly what those characteristics are. So, you know, we think Mr. Schweikert's going down the right path, but maybe it's also good to have the SEC look at it and then report back as to what some of those substantive different changes should be.
Right. I totally agree. And I think for the CPA side of this, you know, someone who does your taxes once a year doesn't necessarily know that we're talking about, in many cases, 27 of these BDCs are private. They're non-traded. So they're rather opaque investments, and I don't think the average tax attorney or personal injury attorney, would necessarily be able to drill down and make a good determination whether or not that investment is right for themselves or for others. The bill also says that that as long as you hire a registered broker-dealer, that allows you to make that investment as well in a BDC that might not have the information public. And Mr. Brown, does that create a problem?
I certainly believe that it does. You know, if we go back to my 85-year-old parent or uncle or friend, and we were to say if they happened to have a lawyer who maybe was their estate planner or a CPA, as you say, who was doing their tax returns, and those two people gave them some investment advice, is that person really suddenly transformed into someone who is sophisticated, just by virtue of the relationship? Not necessarily. Okay, I want to ask you something else. Professor Brown, as you're aware, Congress passed and the regulators have finalized the Volcker Rule to prohibit banks from using their taxpayer-backed deposits to make proprietary trades. The final rule accomplished this by requiring banks to divest from certain assets. However, BDC funds were excluded from that definition, and for purposes of defining affiliation as well. BDCs were not considered to be affiliated with a bank so long as the bank's ownership of the fund was under 25%. Recently, Goldman Sachs took a BDC public. They retained a 20% share in the company. Credit Suisse has also formed a BDC. I'm not sure what their retention is. Should we be concerned now that even before the Volcker Rule is effective, we're already tinkering with an asset class that may enable banks to re-engage in proprietary trading? I can say that it concerns me. And my concern is, there are a couple of them, but one of the ones is that, you know, banks, when they form these other entities, especially when it's the big commercial banks, the market just judges them differently. Sometimes the market thinks that the big bank is making an implicit guarantee of backing that company, even if they only own less than 25%.
Right.
That other company gets a break on the company can borrow at a cheaper rate. It might be able to do things that other BDCs can't do. So I worry very much when banks get into space like this that it may dramatically change the nature of that market, and it frankly may give them a competitive edge that other BDCs don't have.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. The gentleman yields back.